Hi everyone, my name is Ruth Nyako, midwife. This is another episode of Quida Birthing Concepts. This episode is also packed with very informative and educative topics or little things to help us to be able to understand the midwife booking process. If you go back to our first video or the previous video, we were talking about being pregnant and going to see the GP, and then after seeing the GP, the midwife booking the first appointment. So today we're going to begin the first appointment. As I said in the first video, it is a very long appointment, and we're going to take it in bit by bit, and hopefully we'll get to the end at some point. So we're going to start. So at this stage, you've got an appointment with the midwife, you're coming to see the midwife. So on the day of the appointment, when you book the appointment at the GP surgery, and as they give you the forms to fill, normally they will give you a bottle. We call it a urine bottle. It's a little plastic bottle. So for that appointment, we expect you to bring your urine, and because this is targeted towards the minority and especially Africans, we are always late. If the midwife gives you that appointment for 10 o'clock, it will be wise to get there maybe 10 minutes to 10, 5 minutes to 10, so that you can chill out, relax, so that by the time you go in, you're not panting or you're not out of breath because you're running into the surgery. So give yourself time so that you'll be nice and calm whilst you get into the midwife's office. So as you go in, the midwife will introduce herself and then just make you aware that if she is a midwife at that surgery, she'll tell you she's the midwife at that surgery, and for all the subsequent appointments that you're going to be coming to the surgery, you're going to be seeing her. If she's not a midwife and she's just standing in for somebody else, she will let you know as well. The best way is normally to have one midwife throughout the whole pregnancy, which is very nice and optimum. But in the UK, we normally believe in continuity of care and no carer. So if it does happen that your surgery is such that you don't have a particular midwife, but at every appointment you see different midwives, but the care is being delivered, then you've still received care. But the best way would have been for you to see one midwife throughout, so that each time the midwife sees you, she knows all about you, and it's not a matter of repeating yourself every time you see her regarding your issues and things to do. So the midwife introduces herself, and then you tell her who you are. And as I said earlier, we believe you're pregnant already, so we don't need to do a test or anything like that. And then we give you a form to fill. So the form will have your name and your address, and then we ask for your telephone number and all sorts. So somebody may ask, you know my name already, so why are you asking my name again? Most of the time when people get married and stuff, they don't change their names, so they change it everywhere, passports and driving license and everywhere, but they forget to change it at the GP surgery. So now that you're in front of the midwife doing a new booking, it's the best time to give us if you've changed your name, then we can sort that out. If you've changed your telephone numbers, we do that as well. We sort all that out. And after giving your names and telephone numbers and everything, the next thing on there is the midwife writes her name. Normally we give you a book, so the midwife's name, her contact number, and then she will tell you when to contact her and who to contact in case she is not available. So all those informations are made available to you right at the booking. And then the other most important thing that is part of this booking is next of kin. So when we say next of kin and emergency contact, normally in the UK, if anything happens to you, maybe you're in hospital or you're walking in town and had an accident and they didn't know, maybe you were unconscious or they didn't know who to contact, when they go into the documentation or they go onto the system and they find your next of kin or emergency contact, then they can contact. And this goes to the African community, because we are here in this country when this COVID and all sort of things happen. Sometimes you get on WhatsApp messages just to say that a Ghanaian or maybe a Nigerian, somebody has died in London or somewhere, and they don't know the next of kin, they don't know the family, and you see pictures going around to see if anybody knows that person. So as part of this booking, although it's just for booking, this is an educative forum. So if you're listening to me and you're not even pregnant, and for your medical records you don't know who is your next of kin, or you've never ever put a next of kin down, then I'm advising you, go to your local GP surgery, make sure that you know who your next of kin is. And some people, they put a next of kin who moves out of the area or goes out of the country, and because they never bother to look at it and get it changed, the old next of kin sits on it, and then if anything happens, they can't contact anybody. It's really, really important that you know your next of kin and emergency contact. So what I normally advise is, don't put the same person down for next of kin and then emergency contact. If you don't have anybody in this country, or you don't have anybody that can, a second person to be the emergency contact, then that's fine, you can put the same person down. But it's advisable to get 2 different people, so that in case one is not available, then the other will be available. So it is really, really important that you have your next of kin. So after we've gone through all this formality of knowing who you are and all that, then we go through the questions. So the first question will be about mental health. So as part of the booking assessment, we assess you mentally. As I said in the previous video, we are not mental health nurses or mental health practitioners, but we are trained in a little bit of it, so we can be able to pick little things up. And then if we think is major that needs attention, then we can go on to refer you to see other people who can be part of the pregnancy care, so that you get the support that you need throughout the pregnancy. So when you come in and we ask of mental illness, don't feel shy and don't feel as if, oh, they're going to judge me. No. Whatever mental illness you've had in the past, we want to know. If there is a mental illness ongoing, we also want to know, because pregnancy is a happy thing, but it's not a happy thing for everybody. And the fact that pregnancy has got its own worries mentally, because there are mood swings as part of the minor disorders in pregnancy. So 1 minute you're happy, the next minute you're not happy, and then the next minute you're crying and nothing has happened to you, which is a normal symptom of pregnancy. But if you have an underlying mental health disorder, then the pregnancy symptoms and everything that goes on can tip you over the edge, and then it becomes a different issue. So if you've got any mental health disorder, it's in the family, anything at all, and then we ask you, your partner, has he got anything as well? We ask you all that. And as I was saying, I forgot to say, normally when you come in for booking, you come with your partner, because some of the questions that we're going to ask, although is mainly about you, there is a bit about him, especially when it comes to the family history, in case of sicknesses and diseases that runs in the family. So if you're going to come for your booking without your partner, it will be best for you to ask beforehand if there are any diseases that runs in his family, so that he can be able to let you know all this before the appointment day, so that on the day we can have a clearer and a bigger picture of how everything is. Good. So as I was saying about mental health, we're going to ask you if there's any psychotic illness, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, postpartum psychosis, depression, general anxiety, OCD, PTSD, eating disorders, self-harm, a whole lot. I've said this time and time again, the midwife's office is a place that we hear a lot. So nothing you tell us is going to make us like shock us or judge you. No, we just want to have a clearer picture of how everything is going, so that we can be able to help you. So that is the reason why we ask these questions, and we ask if your partner has also got any mental illness, and if there is, you disclose that, and if he needs help as well. Although we're taking care of you, we're taking care of the whole family, and whatever he's going through will impact you as well. So if we realize that the two of you or the whole family will need a bit of intervention, then we can put that in place. And then apart from this mental health questionnaires or the mental health screening that we ask you on the day, every time that you come to see the midwife, we ask you how you're feeling mentally, because you can be fine now, but maybe 6-7 months down the line, it may not be the same. So as I said, when it gets to that stage, if you're still feeling that way, like you're not yourself and you know something is happening, then please disclose it so that we can give you every help that is available. So this is the initial part of it, and then some of the holy questions that we ask is whether you are so stressed that you don't want to mingle with other people. All these are signs of anxiety, and we would rather you tell us, disclose it to us so that we can help you, because most people think that, oh, I'm not going to tell because when I tell they may involve social services. No, all that we need is to get the very clear picture of what is happening so that we can be able to provide you with the care that you need. So please, when you come to the midwife's office and you're disclosing things, don't feel intimidated and don't feel as if you're going to be judged. Please be free and let us know the full picture so that we can be able to plan your care appropriately. And the midwife will carry on to explain to you the pattern of visits. So for today is the booking, which is the longest that you will ever have. And then the next one will be your dating scan. So as I said, if you get to us before 9 weeks, or hopefully this booking is before 9 weeks, then we will request your scan, and then we do the bloods and everything, then it goes through nicely. So the dating scan is the next one after this. And because most of your EDD, expected date of delivery, is based on the first date of your period, it is the scan that tells us how many weeks exactly you are. So we call it a dating scan. The first one that you go to is called a dating scan. So all it's going to do is to date how many weeks the baby is. And because we don't know how many weeks the baby is, the 16-week appointment, which is the next appointment after the booking, is done by you. So you go for the scan, and based on how many weeks you are, you calculate to 16 weeks, and then you book an appointment with your community midwife. So after 16 weeks, the next thing that happens is the scan, another scan. So you get a dating scan that is between 11 to 14 weeks. And that scan, you do your Down syndrome screening with that scan. So Down syndrome screening, we do know that Downs, depending on the severity of it. So what happens with it is a chromosomal disorder. So a chromosome from the man, a chromosome from the woman, and when they come together, if there's a little defect on it, then we get a Downs baby. And we all know that depending on the severity of Downs, they can have a normal life. So you go for the dating scan, and then they offer you the Down screening. But before you go, your midwife will give you a leaflet with all the details of the screening, and especially with the Downs. Apart from the Downs, we do something called Edward and Patau's as well. But Edward and Patau's, if the baby has that, it's not compatible with life. So normally the pregnancy will have to end if there is the diagnosis of Edward and Patau's. But if it's Downs, then that, depending on the severity and depending on what you decide to do, then we will support you in whatever decision you make. So with the Down syndrome and the Edward and Patau's, what they do is when you go for the scan, they measure the nuchal folds of the baby. 10 years ago, you had to pay for this, but at the moment, it has become the norm. It's become part of the care that we give at the dating scan. And then they're going to do your height, do your weight, and then take blood from you. So all this, the measurement of the nuchal fold, your height, your weight, and the blood will give us a risk ratio. What I want you to understand with this is whether you're high or low, there's still the word risk. So it can be 1 in a million, and unfortunately, your one will be the one. So it is a very, I don't know how to say it, but you really need to think about it. Some people will say, I don't want to know. Whatever I get, I'm going to keep it. So I don't want to know and I won't do it. If that is your stand, then that's fine. And others will say, okay, I want to do it. No. And then if this is what is going to happen, then I will be prepared for it. So there is that line of demarcation as to what you want, and it's up to you. So you need to go through the screening book with your husband or partner and then just see what your choices are. So if you come back as high risk, then there are more tests that you have to do. Something we call amniocentesis, where they put a needle through to get the water that the baby swims in, and they can test it, and based on the testing they can tell whether it is or is not. And that testing has got 1% chance of miscarriage. So just go through the book and then sit down, discuss it with your partner, and know what you want before you get there. Because when you get there, they ask for your consent, and if you're not sure of what you're doing, then they won't do it. So it's really important that you know what you're doing. So on that day 18 scan, that's when they give you the appointment for the second one, which is the anomaly scan. So the anomaly scan, how I explain it most of the time, is it's like an MOT for a car, just to make sure that every part is where it's supposed to be and is working. But because it's the same scan that you get your the sex of the baby, most people go to this scan only thinking whether it's going to be a boy or girl, but it's a very, very serious scan. So on the anomaly, they make sure that everything is fine, and if everything is fine, that's fine. Good. The next time that we see you again will be 25 weeks. Just to go back, when we see you at 16 weeks, for this appointment, which is the booking, we're going to take a lot of bloods. So when we see you at 16 weeks, we're going to review the bloods and make sure that everything is fine. But if there was anything wrong with the bloods, then we would have contacted you before the 16 weeks. In most healthcare places, what we say is no news is good news. If we've not called you, then it's good news. But when we call you, then probably it's not so good news. Yeah. If this is your first baby, from 16 weeks, and then after the anomaly scan, the next time we see you will be 25 weeks. And then the next time we see you will be 28 weeks. If this is your second baby, from 16 weeks, the next time we'll see you will be 28 weeks. 12 weeks intervals is quite a big time. And at the 16-week appointment, that's where we remind you to observe the movement of the baby. At 16 weeks, you may not have started feeling the movement yet. Maybe you've started feeling bubbles. And most people, that's how they explain it. It feels like bubbles. And sometimes people say it feels like wind. But as you give it time, by 19, 20 weeks, you start feeling the flattest. So you start feeling 17 to 19 flattest and a little bit of a kick. And then from 20, definitely you should start feeling a lot of kicks. And from 25, you feel a lot. So what we tell you to do is to observe the pattern. So babies, they're just like us. They are creatures of pattern. So if it moves in the morning, afternoon, evening, midnight, you realize that this baby will continue to move exactly at those times. And that is what we tell you to keep an eye on, the pattern, the times that the baby moved. We don't encourage you to count any kicks. We're not counting. All we're doing is observe the pattern. And the midwife will go on to explain to you that when you start feeling the pattern and there is a deviation, you notice that normally I feel in the morning, then breakfast, then lunchtime, but you've not felt in the morning, you've not felt breakfast. Please don't wait till lunchtime. Do something about it. We normally will give you a contact that you contact if such a thing happens. So we'll see you again at 28, and then we'll see you at 31, 34, 36, 38, 40, 41. The baby should be getting ready to come. As I said in the first video, in the UK, 40 is described as term, but for every baby from 37 weeks, it can make an appearance, and that is also term. Anything under 37 becomes preterm. So when you get to 40, 41, and the baby is not coming, then we have to induce you. I remember back home when I was growing up in Ghana, they can say that somebody was pregnant for 2 years. But now knowing what I know that no woman can be pregnant for 2 years, because we know that after 42 weeks, the placenta that supports the baby doesn't work as effective as it should be. So this is where we come to the end of today's episode of Crida Birthing Concepts. So we've talked about your first appointment, come early, bring urine, if possible come with your partner, or if not, get the history so that everything can be put down. And for those of you that are not pregnant, you need to go back to your GP surgery, go back to your doctors, and make sure that you've got a next of kin or emergency contact on the system, so that if anything happens, we know where to call. So thank you for watching. We'll come again next week with another educative and informative continuation of Creeder Birthing Concept. If you are interested to watch other videos that we've uploaded, then you can find us on Creeder Birthing Concept on YouTube and Facebook. Put your comments and your questions down there and we'll look at them and then get back to you, give you answers to those questions in due time. Thank you for watching.